There is also a subtle power in being underestimated. When people assume you have less influence, less relevance, less sharpness, they reveal themselves. They speak freely. They expose intentions. They show their insecurities without realizing it. You see this clearly because you are no longer trying to dominate the room. You are watching it. And observation, when combined with experience, is a form of wisdom that cannot be taught. Invisibility sharpens discernment. You learn when to speak and when silence carries more weight. You learn that not every truth needs defending. You learn that some battles are won by not entering them at all. There is a deep psychological relief in no longer being on display. Your mistakes are less scrutinized. Your imperfections are less magnified. You are allowed to be human again, not a role. This is why many people find a strange peace later in life, even when circumstances are harder. The internal noise quiets. The need to impress dissolves. The self becomes simpler, more honest. You may notice that younger people rush to be heard. They fill silence quickly. They fear being overlooked. You once did too, but now silence feels like a friend. It allows thoughts to settle. It allows emotions to pass without reaction. Invisibility teaches patience. It teaches restraint. It teaches that power does not always announce itself. Sometimes it sits quietly, waiting for the right moment, or deciding no moment is needed. There is also a profound dignity in aging without begging to be seen. It signals self-respect. It signals emotional maturity. It tells the world that your worth is not up for negotiation. You stop explaining your choices to people who are not living your life. You stop chasing conversations that drain you. You stop apologizing for needing rest, space, or quiet. This does not mean withdrawing from life. It means engaging on your terms. It means choosing depth over noise. It means letting go of the illusion that visibility equals value. When you look back, you may realize that some of your most peaceful moments happened when no one was watching, when you were alone with your thoughts, when you acted from alignment rather than expectation. Aging brings you back to that place, not through isolation, but through clarity. You begin to see that being overlooked by the world does not mean being overlooked by life. Life is still happening inside you. Growth is still unfolding. Insight is still deepening. And perhaps the greatest gift of invisibility is this. You finally get to meet yourself without an audience. You hear your own voice more clearly. You feel your own rhythms. You understand what you truly value, not what you were taught to value. This is why some older individuals radiate a quiet confidence. They are not chasing relevance. They are rooted in self-knowledge. They are not reacting. They are responding. There is no urgency in them, no need to prove, no hunger for validation. This is not because they have given up. It is because they have arrived. They understand that respect does not come from being seen everywhere. It comes from being solid somewhere. It comes from consistency, integrity, and emotional steadiness. Invisibility allows you to conserve energy for what matters. And at this stage of life, energy is precious. You may find that when you stop trying to be noticed, the right people notice you anyway. Not because you demand attention, but because your presence carries weight without effort. And if they don't, you remain at peace. This is the final lesson aging offers. You do not need to be visible to be valuable. You do not need applause to be whole. You do not need to be loud to be powerful. In a world obsessed with youth and noise, growing invisible is an act of quiet rebellion. It is choosing depth in a shallow age. It is choosing peace over performance. So if you feel overlooked, pause before judging it as loss. Sit with it. Notice what it gives you. Notice the freedom. Notice the clarity. Notice the calm. This phase of life is not about fading away. It is about shedding illusions. It is about stepping out of the spotlight and into your own authority. You are not disappearing. You are becoming unshakable. And that is a gift few ever receive. There comes a quiet moment, usually after midlife, when you realize something has shifted. Conversations pass over you. Rooms feel louder, yet you feel less seen. You notice eyes moving past you, as if you've slowly faded into the background of a world you once helped build. It can sting. It can ache in places words don't reach, and almost no one warns you that this moment will come. At first, it feels like loss. Loss of relevance, loss of attention, loss of a certain warmth that used to arrive effortlessly. You remember when your presence carried weight without effort, when people asked what you thought, waited for your words, leaned in. Now, you often find yourself leaning back, not because you want to disappear, but because no one seems to notice when you step forward. This is where many people quietly panic. They wonder what they did wrong. They replay conversations. They change how they dress, how they speak, how they act, hoping to reclaim something that feels stolen. And when that doesn't work, a deeper fear creeps in, the fear of becoming invisible. But invisibility is not what it seems, not the kind that arrives with age. It is not a punishment. It is not proof that you no longer matter. In fact, for those who understand it, it becomes something entirely different, something rare, something powerful, something that younger years never allowed. When you are younger, visibility is currency. Attention feels like oxygen. You learn early that being noticed equals being valued. So you speak faster, you explain more, you perform parts of yourself. You try to stay relevant in rooms that reward noise over substance. And for a long time, this works, or at least it feels like it does. But with time, something changes inside you before it changes outside. You stop needing to be right in every conversation. You stop fighting for every ounce of recognition. You realize how much energy you once spent being seen, and how little of that energy actually fed your peace. The world, however, does not slow down with you. It keeps rewarding speed, novelty, and loud certainty. So as you begin to value depth, stillness, and restraint, the world responds by looking elsewhere. This is when invisibility begins. Most people resist it. They see it as erasure, but resistance only creates bitterness. Acceptance, on the other hand, reveals something unexpected. When the spotlight moves away, your nervous system finally gets to rest. You stop being evaluated every moment. You stop being pulled into dramas that feed on reaction. You gain something younger people rarely have: psychological freedom. When fewer eyes are on you, you see more clearly. You notice patterns. You hear what people actually say, not just what they perform. You see insecurity masquerading as confidence. You recognize hunger for approval hiding behind strong opinions. And because you are no longer trying to impress, you are no longer controlled. This is the gift few talk about. Invisibility removes pressure, and pressure is what distorts the self. Think about how much of your early life was shaped by expectation. Family expectations, work expectations, social expectations. You learned roles before you learned yourself. You learned when to speak, when to smile, when to hold back. Visibility demanded compliance. Approval required adaptation. But invisibility loosens these chains. When fewer people project on you, you finally have room to exist without explanation. You can choose silence without being accused of weakness. You can observe without being misunderstood. You can say no without defending it. There is also a quiet dignity that comes with not needing to announce yourself. You stop entering rooms to prove something. You enter, and if you are noticed, fine. If not, you remain whole. This is not resignation. This is sovereignty. Older age reveals a truth that youth cannot afford to see. Most attention is shallow. Most praise is conditional. Most recognition fades the moment you stop performing. So when attention leaves, it reveals what was real all along. You begin to see who still listens when you speak softly, who still seeks your presence without benefit, who values your calm more than your usefulness. These connections may be fewer, but they are truer. And truth at this stage of life matters more than quantity. There is another layer to invisibility that few admit. It protects you. When people stop watching you closely, they stop interfering. They stop projecting their anxieties on your choices. They stop feeling entitled to your time, your energy, your emotional labor. You regain boundaries without building walls. You also stop carrying the emotional weight of other people's expectations. That weight is heavy. It ages the mind faster than time ever could. Invisibility removes that burden quietly, without confrontation. This is why some people grow calmer with age while others grow bitter. The difference is not circumstance. It is interpretation. One sees invisibility as rejection. The other sees it as relief. There is no need to force yourself back into relevance. Relevance is a young person's game. It changes every season. It demands constant adjustment. It feeds on anxiety. But significance is different. Significance grows slowly. It does not shout. It does not trend. It does not beg for attention. Significance is felt in the way people relax around you, in the way your presence steadies a room without words, in the way someone seeks your counsel not because you are loud, but because you are grounded. As you age, your nervous system becomes your greatest teacher. You can feel when something costs too much energy. You sense when engagement leads to depletion. Invisibility gives you permission to disengage without guilt. You no longer need to correct every misunderstanding. You no longer need to prove your worth through productivity. You begin to understand that your value is intrinsic, not performative. This shift is uncomfortable at first because it asks you to let go of an identity built on reaction. Many people confuse being needed with being loved. Invisibility exposes that illusion. And while that exposure can hurt, it also heals. You begin to choose where your energy goes instead of letting others choose for you. You invest in fewer conversations, but deeper ones. You invest in peace rather than applause. You invest in alignment rather than approval.